I think about this a lot because it was something we talk about a lot.
How do I know when I'm talking effectively?
How do you know when you're in the presence of an effective communicator?
How am I gaining deeper understanding of who that person is on a soulful level? Am I present? Am I listening to what's coming out of the other person's mouth and not just trying to listen to respond? You gotta gamify it so it's fun. If I'm not learning about something, if I'm not growing, then it can easily become very boring.
But an effective communicator not only sets expectations on what they're going to do, they're also accountable. Just because it makes sense in your head doesn't mean it makes sense to the individual receiving it.
Correct.
I don't want you to ever f***ing cuss, all right? You're a little boy, you shouldn't be f***ing cussing. Huh? Welcome back, everyone, to the Teevee Show Podcast. My name is Teevee, and this is my
Chris Sam.
Lovely assistant.
Co-host
of the When Men Talk, When Brothers Talk, or what? What is the other thing? He
has other names he's workshopping.
Yeah, I'm workshopping.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's Men Talking About Their Emotions podcast. Welcome
just
back.
Talking about life. I don't think we live limited to just emotions because we're talking about scenarios and stuff. Emotions do play a lot of part into. What happened?
Everything that we react to is an emotion.
I mean, you're right. Yeah. I mean, yes.
So it's just. And I'm playing with it because that'll trigger a lot of people. That's the point.
We're talking about emotions.
We're talking about emotions. It triggers people like men shouldn't be talking about their emotions. You're a man. Fuck that shit. And off we go.
Off we go.
Question of the day is this. With Chris, once again, I shared it with him, and then he started talking a lot, and I said, stop.
So shut up. Let me turn on the cameras.
Let me turn on the camera. Sit your ass down.
Sit my ass down.
Let's do this. So the conversation is this, or the question is this. How do you know when you're talking to an effective communicator, or how do you know when you're communicating effectively? Oh, that's question. That's question.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can speak now.
I can speak now. Thank you, good sir. So, how do I know when I'm talking effectively, and how do I know when
you're being in a? Or no, how do you know when you're in the presence of an effective communicator? And I'm going to back up a little bit. I want to set this up a little better. Obviously, the question by itself is fantastic, but the reason I bring this up is I have this idea that we say things that we don't really think about. So in relationships and in life, in work, we say like, my partner doesn't communicate. I want to communicate better, or I just want to be with someone who can communicate himself. At work, it's like, I left the job because they didn't communicate. So what does that really mean? We're all communicating. We're having a conversation. We're communicating. We're watching a movie. It's communication. A piece of media is communication. So in terms of a person-to-person conversation, how do you know what an effective communicator is? What does that look like?
So for me, and I'm going to be borrowing some concepts that we've mentioned in previous podcasts and previous episodes around expectations and setting expectations and all that stuff. I think effective communication comes in the flavor as I am clearly expressing in some way, shape, or fashion my expectations and boundaries and all this thing. And I'm also being an effective listener if I'm listening for that. But this is a particular type of conversation, you know. But also, am I present? Am I listening to what's coming out of the other person's mouth and not just trying to listen to respond, right? How am I gaining deeper understanding of who that person is on a soulful level by what's coming out of their mouth?
That's a lot of work.
By the word, it is, but it's why it's called active listening. That's a lot of work. That's why it's called active listening, right?
Right.
Yes, but then, for example, a lot of people are like, man, I can't believe you remember that fact about me. Or I can't believe you seem to know me so well after a short amount of time. Well, I'm fully present here, right?
And you tend to ask deep questions.
Because I listen deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ask deep questions about them as individuals.
Because I want to know.
Yeah.
I
you actually get upset when people don't want to go there with you.
I do.
They're like, damn it, we're going to go deeper.
Because then I get bored.
Oof. Which would be, that's actually something I want to talk about, what boredom is and how to switch it up. So communication is just effectively, hey, I'm going to the store. Hey, you didn't clean the dishes. You didn't wash the dishes. Hey, you should always look both ways before crossing the street.
Yeah.
It's just words being exchanged, right? But go ahead.
I think conversations that I really enjoy too, which is kind of what you guys are getting through all of this, is you're getting my kind of unfiltered stream of consciousness in verbal form, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just stream of consciousness, right?
So you get to know how I am.
Right.
A lot of times people don't do that. They just
Yeah, that's fair. I think an effective communicator is an individual, a person, man, woman, or otherwise, who is able to share what's in their head, the story, an experience, an expectation, in such a way that the other person understands it. Right? I will pick you up at 5:00 on Friday so we can go to dinner. That's effective communication. It could be a story. It's just a story that's well told in such a way that the other person understands it, feels your pain. You illustrate it, you share it. It's an effective form of communication.
It could be a joke. It could be dark humor. It could be something like this.
Communication itself is everything, right? And then there's obviously the subliminal, the subconscious, the body language.
Correct.
So it's all that, right? But an effective communicator not only sets expectations on what they're going to do or what they expect from the group, the family, holds them accountable. Oh, not the expectation. But on the flip side of that is when they can't do it, they're also accountable.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I couldn't make it to pick you up at 5:00. That's on me. I'll be there at 5:15. I'm stuck in traffic. It's also continuously adjusting. It's not just saying the thing, but saying it and it being an organic, dynamic thing that continues. A lot of people will tell you what they want done, but then they're not great at actually modeling it. It's like, hey, a lot of parents would do that. Hey, I don't want you to ever fucking cuss, all right? You're a little boy, you shouldn't be fucking cussing.
Yeah.
And it's like, huh? Isn't fucking a cuss word? But it's that disconnection from what you expect and what you actually do. Modeling it and continuously being accountable for it and holding others accountable. I think too many people will actually say something, but not, and this is where people lose respect. It's like, wait, you said this thing, but you did this other thing. So now you're a liar. So you're an ineffective communicator.
And really, I think if we were to extrapolate that out a little bit more, you don't seem consistent. So because you're not consistent, I can't figure you out. There's no pattern. And because there's no pattern, I can't trust you.
And because I can't trust you, I can't respect you. Ooh.
Unless you respect them to be
just human beings living in this world. I respect you because you're not a killer.
Yeah. I mean, you trust a snake to be a snake.
Yes. And that's what I meant earlier in the other podcast about I actually respect people that are consistent with who they are. A snake is a snake. A rooster is a rooster, a chicken is a chicken, and a bunny is, I know that they're going to be consistent to those behaviors. Is when you pretend to not be, that there's a problem. Now, God, this actually ties back to the other one. Because I cannot trust what you're saying, now you're an ineffective communicator, and people around you are not going to actually.
And because you've lost respect for what that person is saying, it carries little to no value. So 100%. Now, why are you even talking?
Damn. Should we end now? Should we end now?
Nah, we still got like a couple more minutes.
No, I'm just fucking with you. Should we end the podcast? You said you can't trust me.
No, not you, but
I know.
I know what you're saying. Okay. Effective communication right there. That's a good joke.
Yes. Didn't catch it. He didn't catch it.
I mean, I shaved, so just went above my head.
I think about this a lot because it was something we talk about a lot. We expect other people to be good communicators. And we say it in our dialogue all the damn time, but we're not doing it.
So to that point, sometimes it is my responsibility to try and get the information that I want. So if somebody's not communicating effectively, I am going to start asking and actively listening and ask more effective questions. I can't judge the answer. If I ask better questions, I will get better answers. So,
yes.
So I just start asking better questions. Like you said, I asked you questions because I'm asking better questions to get me more of the information that will
give you more insight on the individual.
Oh, more insight that will keep me engaged in the conversation. Because if we're not talking about stuff that I care about, why do I care?
Right. So with the girls, one of the big things that I did really well, and I learned this in management. The class, I used to teach this class, it was on effective delegation.
Okay.
And the idea of effective delegation, I believe that's what the class was called, is, hey, I want you to clean your room, right? I'm delegating to them to clean the room. However, I may not have, the truth is, in what time frame, what exactly does it need to look like? Have I ever modeled it? Have I ever explained specifically what a clean room looks like? So when you come back, if you, as a parent, if you come back in that scenario and it's not clean to your standards and your expectation, they're going to say, it is clean. Look, I picked up the laundry, the bed's made, like it's clean. No, like when I say it needs to be clean, this is what I mean. And now you start listing it out. So now it's after the fact. So there's a mismanagement of expectations, right? So you did not, as a leader, as a parent, effectively communicate. I got that, and it made a lot of sense to me. So I started, the second part to that is, it wasn't clear. Did they understand the expectation? Did they understand the communication? So what that class would teach is, hey, tell them what you want, tell them specifically how you want it, model it, show pictures, whatever, have them do it, maybe a mini training session. And then, and this is the key, is now, in your own words, tell me what you heard. What exactly are my expectations based on the words that came out of my mouth?
Yeah.
And because I really learned that in the management, when I was in management, with the girls, I did it all the time to the point where it was a non-issue. And extended further, to your point, we as individuals can also ask, all right, so you asked me to clean this room. So what this means to me is X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? No.
Yeah, because I've definitely had situations where somebody would ask me to do something, and I would do it, and then they'd be like,
"That's not what I said.
You didn't do what I asked you." Yeah, I did this, and that. No, when I say this, I meant you to do that, but you didn't do this, and now they're upset. They're frustrated. I have learned with time. I'm sorry. There was a misunderstanding because, let's say when people tell me to clean something, I clean this.
The counter, the floors.
Yeah. I didn't know you wanted me to wop and some other
Just random things.
Some random stuff.
Random things that you don't know.
And we take some things for granted, especially like, we're in I meet a lot of people from a lot of different parts of the world.
Yes.
So there's a lot of different cultural things, and that's why I've learned to do it this way.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Because I've been burned a lot of times. Like, damn, we didn't need to be
culturally. There's a difference of like words mean different things. Even.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
So the understanding, effective communicator is one that's actually able to even confirm that the words, that the story, if it's instructional, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, that they understood what X was, what Y was, and what Z was. That's an effective communicator to me. And I think too many times we assume the other person understands without asking for clarification, without actually verification.
Yeah.
And to me, the second part to that is sometimes you are the person that's being communicated to. And I've had to ask my girlfriend sometimes, like, all right, what does that look like exactly for you?
I get accused of being a lecturer a lot.
You can be. Yeah, because you should be. Yeah. But that's also part of the beauty of you.
I mean, it is what it is. Right?
It's part of your personality.
So
carry on. Why do you bring that up?
Oh, because you said saying it in an instructional way. So, like, I've have a highly technical degree. So the way that I have been raised to communicate expectations and instructions is from very technical people who, if you've spoken to anybody who's technical, they're going to read it to you like an instruction manual.
Right.
So now I'm like, okay, so this is what you want to do. You want to do it this way, that way. Don't do it that way because and I get it. I hear myself. It's a very lectury way, but
yes.
It is the way that I communicate these things. And some people then they get triggered. Oh, it sounds like you're talking down to me, or you don't trust me, blah blah blah. Like,
now we're getting to emotions. Their emotional reaction to the way you're speaking to them, but carry on.
And then there's also setting an expectation. I've learned Because I would like, no, of course not. But then that doesn't really address the issue. No, I think the world of you. You're incredibly smart and intelligent. This is just how I need to.
I need to confirm that you're understanding.
Yeah, and this is what gives me confidence that what I'm sharing with you is actually being heard. No, knock on you.
Yeah.
Right? Because likewise, people have their own ways that I have to conform to if I want to speak to them. Right? Because they're not going to understand it if I say it in my regular verbiage. So I got to understand that translation.
You have to understand you have to also change the message for different people. I have 2 daughters. I gave them the exact same message for the most part. Sometimes I had to package it in different ways. Know your audience.
Remember a couple episodes ago I said diamond?
Yes.
Diamond, human diamond, multifaceted.
Yes.
Same.
You have to be able to be flexible in that regard. Like, just because it makes sense in your head doesn't mean it makes sense to the individual receiving it.
Correct.
It could be cultural. It could be youth.
Yeah.
Like they're young and they like, I don't understand what that even means.
Yeah.
And this assumption, I think, so on the parenting side, I think there's too many assumptions made by parents that the kid is going to understand. And depending on their age, is like, they might be 5 years old. They have a couple of years of consciousness and understanding the English language. And it's like, I told you to do this.
Why aren't you doing quadratic equations yet?
It sounds that dumb. And then add to that they aren't modeling it. Oof. So between not modeling that desired behavior, like, hey, I want the house clean, I want your room clean, but the whole house is a pig pen, then there's a disconnection. You're a terrible communicator.
I'm not a parent.
You're not.
Thank you for reconfirming. But I've seen some pretty cool videos of parents essentially taking this mindset with their offspring, right? Maybe some toddlers and say, hey, okay, I understand you're upset. Why are you upset?
Yeah.
Right? And it's inviting that kind of like dialogue and then setting the expectation like, okay, well, you're upset because you didn't food? Okay, I understand, but you don't need to cry, or you can cry if you want. But like just having that dialogue, and it's all communication. And you start doing that from a young age. You grow up to have fantastic daughters like yours that communicate with you very easily.
Yeah, right? It definitely takes a lot of work, and that's the thing. You said it earlier when I mentioned you going on and on, like that takes a lot of work, and it does. I think once you
a lot of intention,
intentionality. You have to make sure that the message is crafted. You had to give some thought. If you just fly off and you say a handful of words, and then the expectation wasn't met, not only is the communication terrible, but the expectation was not set. Mm-hmm. The other person is probably going to fail. And now you have a very bad situation.
Correct.
Communication to me is an essential part. It's something I think about almost every single day because I'm a writer, I'm an artist. I'm communicating through my pictures, and I want to make sure, even in my pictures, that I'm communicating the desired emotion, the desired story to carry you along. So it's something that I spend probably way too much time on, but I like to think that because of that, I'm also pretty good about communicating. And realizing when I've done a poor job, like, oh shit, that's on me.
Yeah.
Like in relationships specifically, like something's not going right. I had an expectation that I did not communicate clearly. Yeah. And it's like, fuck. Yeah. I'm sorry, babe. That's on me. Let me rephrase it, or let's back up a little bit. And let me explain it better. What I desired, what I was looking for, what I want. Like, and then obviously she can agree or disagree to do that. But it takes some time. When you really study it at that level, you can actually know when you're screwing it up. It's you. It's the operator, right? Yeah. It's a feature, not a function, not a failure of the system.
Yeah, and I think it's like. And we touch upon this a lot. So
yeah, it's gonna be.
I think the thing makes, like, you gotta be highly present, or I like to be highly present, and so I kind of gamify it so it's fun, right? Because then if I'm not learning about something, if I'm not growing, then it can easily become very boring. And boring is when just an absence of like presence. I'm just here. I'm not really engaged. I'm not really attentive, and my energy's not going, because where attention goes, energy flows. So, and making it playful, talking about a different set of topics, talking about things that are interesting to both. So I'm listening to figure out, what do you really like to talk about? What do you really like to engage in? Is there any kind of overlap in that Venn diagram with stuff that I like to engage in and discuss? Cool. Well, I know where we overlap here. So if I want to keep this dynamic
Dude,
fun,
it's a lot of work.
Oh, oh, really? I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
You
And
can't
obviously
be.
you can't do that with everyone, but you can do that with the person that you're in front of.
So I can do that with everyone,
The person that you're in front of.
whoever.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, because think about it. Like you've mentioned this before. Like I have quite a lot of really good, solid people in my life. How?
Because your presence, like you are one of the most engaging people I know, and the presence of you, like you.
I mean, and
You immerse
you're
yourself.
one of the best parents that I see. Right.
Like, stop it. Carry on.
His daughters are amazing. Hopefully you checked out the podcast. More coming. I'm going to shout them out all the time. Anyway, but it takes work. Like life is for the living, and living takes effort, right? Living takes work. And if you want to have a life that you're happy with, you're proud of across multiple different vectors, you got to apply some form of intentionality, whether it's on your mindset, emotionality, physique, health. I mean, you know?
Right. You spoke on fun.
Yeah. Oh, life
Another
gotta be
term,
fun.
yeah.
Playful.
Play. I like to think that I'm a playful person. It's just my nature.
No, really?
For real. Like I swear. One of the what is fun? Or when do you know that you're bored or not having fun? Like in a dance, when are you bored?
When there's no engagement. So let's say we're dancing, you're giving something, and somebody's receiving and reflecting something back to you.
Follow lead,
however, right? It's not me just dogmatically saying, do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm the lead, you know what I mean? Because then it's just me.
You're communicating through your body at that point.
Exactly, right?
Without words.
Exactly. But when we're both engaged, and when we're, just like in conversation, we're both engaged, we're picking different things that we know spark an interest in not only us, but the other person, right? I'm not just talking about shit that I like to talk about that I have no regard that you don't care about. Likewise, dancing, I'm not just going to do things that I want to do with no regard to what I sense feels good for you. Because then there's only one of us having fun. And if we're not having fun, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
You'll quickly disengage, tune out, check out, and there won't be a repeat customer, whether it's in friendship, whether it's in dancing, or anything else in life. What value are they getting?
There's some fun has to be involved in it.
Some kind of value, yes.
Yeah. One of the things when I hosted the dance event, the Monday Night Kizomba, I would say this all the time when people would ask me how I'm able to get people out and consistently be out. And it's because I've sold them on the idea that it was going to be fun. That it was going to be a fun thing. To ask anyone to do anything without that being a part of it is foolish, or being able to persuade them that it could be fun, to give me a chance.
And he would model this too, like in his events, when you would throw events. You're bombastic, you're having fun, you're working the room. And so you're modeling and inducing fun in everybody else.
Yeah.
If they choose to receive it.
To get people to come out of their comfortable homes, drive across town, and show up at an unknown place, they had to know that there was likely going to be fun with some level of confidence. If we don't have fun, people become disengaged. And I feel like, for me, it's one of the most essential things, like communication, fun, surprise. I studied improv years ago, and in doing so, that improv teaches you a lot. Improv teaches you how to play. How to play as adults, because we don't do it enough. How to play in conversations, how to play through our communication. And learn many things, and I want to share a few of those lessons. There's one that is really known as the yes and. It's one of the first things you learn when you go to improv is yes anding. And in communication, when we speak to each other and have a conversation, too often we yes but. We're like, oh yeah, that's cool, but, and that but negates everything that's said before it. The fun happens when you yes and, because a couple of things are happening. Not only am I agreeing with you, I'm adding. Now we're playing. The conversation becomes fun.
It's orgasmic.
It really is when people are playing and we're adding and we're
It's a flow.
It's,
Because now you're just
now you're dancing.
come on.
Now you're
Say it
dancing.
again.
It's like yes, and when you're dancing, you have the lead, the follow. You're yes, you're doing an action. She's yesing, and I'm gonna give you this.
And that's whatever. So like let's say from a lead perspective, one of us slips. One of us gets something timing off. Whatever. We adjust.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
It's part of the
kind of
dance.
fucked up.
but
Yes,
no.
and.
Yeah,
How-
exactly.
How can we create something? Okay, that's interesting. I never thought about the mitochondrial studies of cellular development. But you ever seen Star Wars? They have mitochondria that gives them force power. It's like,
Wow.
I mean, that's a long reach, but you know what I'm saying. Yes, and like you're trying to figure out how does what they.
But you said yes, but by the way.
okay.
And
Yes,
no, it
and.
sounds crazy, but notice it in conversations. For me, because this is the world I live in, it seems like it's really common knowledge. But as I've talked to people, even in the last few years, when I shared this, they're like, "Oh, wow, I never thought about that."
Yeah.
Because I thought everybody it was common knowledge or they share it here or there. When people say "but," you're literally the "but" cancels out the thing before.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know what you meant.
Yeah.
But you said "but," I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I'm confused now. Where are you going with
You
this?
know what
'Cause
I
we
mean.
had just yes and.
You know what I mean. It's like trying.
Yeah.
Don't try nothing. Trying implies failure. Do your best.
Yes.
I'm doing my best.
All right,
at this.
Yoda. So you're on a Star Wars platitude, right?
I didn't even recognize
So
it. Yeah, I am.
You are. So yes, anding. It taught me that any conversation can be fun. Like you can listen and add, yes and.
And then you end up building this
Yes.
conversational dynamic together.
We actually would do an exercise. This is literally the very first lesson you learn when you go to improv. Yes, anding. It's like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. And then they have us play a game, and the game is yes, but.
Okay.
So essentially, excuse me, like, I want you to yes, but.
But yes.
Right. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna say something, and you're gonna accept it. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Cool.
Hey, Dad says he wants to talk to you,
Yes, but right now isn't a good time.
but he wants you to talk to him.
Yes, and I'll talk to him later.
Good. When you talk to you totally jacked that up. You didn't follow the So what ends up happening in those exercises when you yes but
Oh, consistently yes, but.
yeah
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
the scene dies
Yeah, because
because you
because my bad. Go ahead. Anyway, because this energy being transformed, right? So if you think of it like a flow, the but is stopping that flow. But when you say yes and, it's more like you're directing
Yes.
it. You know, like
it's
these
flowing
aren't
back and forth.
like these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Wow, you just went there. Third Star Wars. He definitely was baiting me on that one. But the yes but exercise, literally nothing progresses.
And try this in your own day-to-day life. Talk to your spouse. Talk to your
Play-
friends.
play with that idea.
this, and just see what happens when you say yes, but, or even.
And look, it looks different. It'll be like, oh, that's cool, but yeah, oh, I heard that, but
Yeah. Or I heard that, and as a matter of fact,
in my
Yeah.
experience, I've also been there, and this is what I felt.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting. And like the yes can sometimes be subliminal. It doesn't have to be overt.
Mm-hmm.
When we would do the yes and exercises, it would be overt. Yes and.
yeah.
Point is, the conversation has to flow. It makes it fun because now we're both contributing.
So
it's
now-
not just one person talking
Correct.
and the other person just being
It's two
like,
people in dialogue. So now, if we kind of going back to what we've had, communication where you're setting expectations and listening for expectations, and you're making that boundary setting or that expectation setting fun
Yes.
by pulling in different informations, any interaction is bound to be orgasmic. It's bound to be delightful. It's bound to be it's bound to be invigorating.
yes. I that's why I love talking to people. I love conversations because there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And if you just kind of open
Anybody.
up anybody, there's so many people have been through
CEO,
so
janitor,
much.
yeah.
Like just random people. It's just about time. Obviously, having the time to sit down and have a conversation. But so continue that improv idea. Second lesson I learned is how we're terrible at listening. we're terrible at listening. We're really busy at listening to speak instead of listening to absorb and actually understand what the other person is saying. And this becomes evident in improv because we're playing pretend. And sometimes in the scenes, we'd have 4 or 5 people. And you're going to have to yes and it. So someone's on the scene and they're doing something. It could be a daughter and a father talking about college. And if you're over here in the background and you're not listening to what they're actually talking about, then for you to add on to the scene or take the scene somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So because they're too busy trying to find a joke or trying to figure out how they can go in there and shine instead of adding value to the conversation. That has been one of the biggest lessons I learned through improv is actively listening. We talk about it and we say we need to do it.
So I think this ties into quite a few things if we're talking about like dynamics, and I want to pivot a little bit. So let's say you're talking about either with yourself or with you and your romantic partner or friends or whatever, right? Why are you bored with each other, right? Are you continuing to grow and do different things? Or even with yourself, if I'm bored, like I rarely get bored these days because there's so many different skills, techniques, things that I can yes and within myself to grow and become even more of the person that I want to become. But
what boring to me is when it's predictable and mundane. So when it becomes boring is like, oh, I know what's going to happen now. Like,
okay, so let me ask you this. You mentioned that I'm a very consistent person. Mm-hmm. Why am I not boring and mundane if I'm consistent? Because
you still say shit that's off the wall. You bring in Star Wars references 3 times in a podcast. I wasn't expecting that.
Okay, fair enough. But same thing in romantic dynamics or same thing in stuff. Like, are you guys playing still? Are you still having fun with each other, listening and exploring? And I mean, I think that's why a lot of people say that whole thing about continue to date.
Yeah, exactly why. You know, because that's what you were exploring and finding out about each other, and you were outside of the day-to-day.
And that's another thing. I think on the first podcast we did, I mentioned how like people used to say, oh, college was the best years of my life. I'm like, why? Right? But college is a very exploratory time for a lot of people, right? They're saying yes and to a lot of new experiences, new situations. But then once they go out into the workforce, they truncate their life to like, I don't think I want to pick up acro yoga. I don't think I want to take up dance. I just need to work.
I don't want to learn how to paint.
I don't want to learn how to paint. I don't want to know how to draw or
it's too much work. I always wanted to do as a kid, but
exactly.
I don't want to fail.
Yeah, people don't want to fail, and you failing is your first attempt in learning. So go learn, go grow, and then your life will be exciting, and then you can bring all of those attributes to any dynamic because now you have more substance to you to talk, discuss, share, and learn.
I think that's what, for me, when I have conversations, what allows people to really connect with me is I have a lot of I have a lot of hooks.
You have, as they would say in coding, you have a lot of APIs.
Yeah, that's good. Yes. But for the non-techie, I have a lot of hooks. Yeah. Like all of us, ideally to have a good conversation, need to have a lot of hooks to us for people to connect to.
Yeah.
The dance.
I mean, shit, you got the Star Wars reference. Some people would be like,
I don't get it. Yeah. And I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but yeah, I knew enough to connect
regrettably,
to it. Yes. I knew enough to connect to it. But if you don't have enough hooks, enough experiences to actually conversate or jump off for people that are like, oh, you do yoga? I do yoga, blah, blah. We're always looking to connect.
Exactly. Make my foot touch my head and shit like that.
Can you really?
I mean, should I?
No, not right now. Actually, he can. I know that. No.
Okay, these pants are tight. But, I mean.
Well, that was fun.
These pants are tight. Make it like
I forgot what I was going to say. You threw me off. I'm like, oh, he's doing this. I forgot what I was going to say. You literally, oh, shit, he's doing it. Sometimes fun is just a matter of saying something differently. And just surprising people. Yeah. Like, one of the things that I do often that improv taught me was just say something differently. It will shock people. Say something that they're not expecting. It could be answering the very same question. But saying it in such a way that it gathers a laugh because people are always guessing what you're going to say next.
You know what, Teevee?
What's up?
Of all the assholes I know, you are the furthest asshole from being an asshole that I can imagine. And what did I just say?
That I am an asshole.
No.
You're the furthest asshole from being an asshole. Essentially, you're a nice guy. If you're far away from being an asshole, you're a pretty nice guy.
But you're the furthest asshole.
I mean, okay, but
so you still call me an asshole.
It's a double negative.
You're right.
It's a double negative.
Is that what we did?
Yeah, it's a double negative that turns into a positive, right?
Jesus Christ.
But I could have just said you're a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right. But
saying it differently. People are bored. We're bored in life. We're scrolling on social media every single day. If we're not doing something slightly different, like we're tired of the same stories. Did you know that one out of every four statements that we make is a metaphor?
Damn. So I'm 1/4 metaphor.
Correct. Oh, there.
I said the same thing.
The problem with that is we speak in metaphor and we speak in story. The problem is we are all sharing the same metaphors. So we're all very predictable. Well, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
But that's where having a broad set of experiences will give you new material to pull new metaphors from, new stories from. And that's why, as I mentioned, yes, and to your life, right? Because when you go out into the world and you have experiences, you can bring that knowledge of other cultures, other places you visited, other dances you've done.
The first time I went to a really good improv show, I was blown away. Because this guy was able to just jump in and out of scenes. He was an amazing talent. But I couldn't figure out why he was so good, because then I started doing it. I struggled. And there's obviously the struggle because I was new. But the more I thought about it, one of the biggest reasons is he just had more experiences to draw from. Without that point of those experiences and those points of references, then you can. And this is the second part to it. Anything goes. You're playing pretend. You can be floating in outer space. You could be digging a ditch in Uranus. That was a terrible. You could be digging a ditch in another planet. I wasn't trying to go there. That's not the type of podcast that this is trying to be. You can have 25 kids with 25 moms. This is all made up. So anything goes. But between being willing to experiment and try different things, and then also having a deep set of experiences to pull from, that allows you to have a rich conversation.
So let's drive this to a point.
Drive it to a point.
I feel like we've been doing a lot of circular talk.
Okay, go for it.
No, I'm asking you to.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Well, I was just trying to share what I had learned from improv, and improv for me is something that I think everyone should take, because it's going to teach you how to play with other people, how to inject humor and just be different.
I like that, and I think I'll go a little bit broader. I think whether it's journaling, whether it's stretching, whether it's physical activity, you need to do something that stokes your artistic flair, because once you start getting artistic in one area of your life, you're going to start doing so in verbal communication. You're going to start doing so in your career. You're going to start taking fantastical risks that hopefully you calculate, and you're going to create a lifestyle for yourself that is based on things that you're interested in, and you're going to style your life. Hence, lifestyle. You're going to be creative. You're going to be an artist for your life.
I never thought about that. Style your life.
Yeah.
Okay.
How is are you going to
lifestyle? No, I never broke that word apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why the arts are so important. Too few people really invest in the arts, whether it's music, dancing, something, because we need that.
Right.
We need
expression.
It's
a form of expression. It's a form of communication.
Because you have to be present with your art. You can't just copy and paste. You can't be
able to convey the idea that you're trying to portray.
And get into a flow state. And flow state means basically that you're so hyper aware that you can adjust to, the outputs, the outcomes of your inputs, and you can adjust to when something is not exactly there. Hence dancing. You're so hyper aware. Somebody missteps.
So just for context, we're dancers. So that's why the metaphors on dancing keep coming up.
Yes. That's how we met dancing, actually.
For those that may be just tuning in for the first time, metaphors on dancing are going to continue coming up. Yeah. We met dancing, we're dancers.
Yeah.
I agree. To me,
to clarify, I know my foot just touched my head. We're not talking about pole. This is like Latin dancing. This is like African dancing. This is partner social dancing.
He loves it. Two key things that I felt taught me how to communicate and how to be artistic was dance. Because to me, dance is improv. And improv is dance, and life is dance, and life is improv. infusing that idea of, to kind of just wrap it up in a sense, having fun is just essentially surprising people, being surprising.
Shock and awe.
Sometimes, like saying the damnedest thing.
Yeah. Nothing is sacred, but everything is divine.
Sometimes walking out butt naked and surprising your partner. Like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. Hopefully the children aren't home. But imagine that, like you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Because it's just funny. Like,
You're right.
I can just imagine you just Carlos
Like,
just like,
she's like, oh, it's that kind of night. Yeah, it is. Now, let's prep.
Yeah,
Whoa, give
let's
me an apron.
prep.
Let's
Give me an
meal
apron.
prep because I'm helping in the kitchen. But
Bruh, you cook, oil gets on you? That's a meal prep, not cooking. Okay.
yeah, or get an apron. We have aprons.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna do it butt naked. I had to protect myself.
But yeah, even something like that I'm sure would spice up the whole.
It will.
Especially if you're living together or extended, like it'll get mundane
gets
pretty
boring.
fast if you're not doing some
Yes.
wild shit every now and then.
Or just saying things off the wall, or saying it and singing it. Earlier, I was singing to her. There was right before you got here. There was
this guy.
I was freestyling, y'all.
This guy.
And she was kind of not necessarily in a great mood. She was in her head. She was doing a lot of things. She was cutting up some things, prepping for the night. And I have this instinct to do this kind of thing. But there was some music playing. I loved it. It's what we were listening to earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was some dope.
I know. I just discovered them.
Yeah.
I think they're a blues band.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I liked the rhythm, and I had been playing for a while, so I started just singing to her. Because I like to think that I can freestyle like that, and I just made it up. It's just follow the melody, and little by little, you can see her smile. She wasn't trying to reveal it, but it's
That's
up
so
to,
damn cute.
It is cute, and it made her smile. The reason I'm circling around on this topic is because a lot of people are bored. Not you. Clearly, you're having fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people are bored. They have boring conversations. They have a boring life, and I see that a lot. And it's not because I think my life is that much fun. It's just because in simple conversations, I'm able to infuse something to spike the conversation. I'm going to spike the emotion of my girlfriend. Noting when the conversation is waning and being able to just say something different or sing to your partner or who you're interviewing about. Like just the sheer act of changing the expectation in that moment. Every moment, we're predicting what the other person is going to say. Because that's what our mind is doing. It's trying to fill in the gaps and anticipate so that way they can already start to respond. But if you can break up the monotony and say something different or just pivot and start talking about pigs. Did you know pigs? What the fuck? How do we get to pigs? Anything can be fun. Play can be involved in our day-to-day. It's just up to us to actually note how to do that or when to do that or when to just surprise the system. That's it. What you got?
I mean,
I left him speechless for a moment there. It's not like him.
I concur. I mean, yeah, I think it's terribly important. And because life is hard. I mean, we're not trying to say that we don't have our challenges. We absolutely do.
But I make sure my challenges are fun.
Yeah, and you just extract the lessons that you can and move on. And not every endeavor goes well. Not every relationship is successful. Not every, business.
In fact, every relationship before the one you're in is failure.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
It failed. But it didn't continue. It wasn't a long.
If you're looking at longevity as a mark of success, which is not
I like
necessarily a good indication, because there are people who are in some long ass relationships and have been unhappy for a long ass time.
Dead on.
So,
gotcha.
It depends on
what is your metric for success?
Yeah, what's your expectation for a successful relationship?
Yes.
Or a successful friendship, or a successful boom, 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 boom. And things can change as we get older, or as we just mature and grow differently. But I think all the things that we're talking about is just really bring more attention and mindfulness to yourself and to your life. Because ultimately, that's really what we're saying. And then explore, have fun. It's like dancing. Yeah. Just the basic steps in any dance, you can have such a wonderful night. No need to do no complicated moves, no nothing. Just do the basics a little differently. Let's say if it's something like, I don't know, like a salsa. Instead of doing it this way, do it this way. Or do it in a circle, or do it blah, blah, blah. Like, or zouk, or kizomba, or something. Like, there's so many different ways to play with life and with your career. How can you take a little bit more risk? Maybe you can take a different project obviously this is going to mean more work, but it's also going to give you more visibility. It's going to give you more this, and the third.
This is actually a great topic. We can or not jump into, but being
Maybe
able
briefly.
to take risk.
Being able to take a risk.
Yeah, like-
because you cannot play without taking risks. The
Right.
essence of play is to take risks.
Yeah, you're gonna push the envelope a little bit. Say, I'm gonna walk out butt naked for my partner. There was a risk there. She like, I ain't feeling, but she's gonna feel it. Like she was definitely interested. But there was a risk. There's a risk that she wasn't in the mood for that type of humor. Like by being funny, there is. I read this because I study humor. What makes something funny is when there's the comedian is saying something that's slightly risky.
Oh yeah,
And when you cross that line too much, now you're just saying something offensive.
correct. But
And like that will offend the greater deal of the population.
And,
But there's always someone
yeah,
here.
and I think that also goes back to expectations. Like I like a lot of dark humor, but if somebody actually knows me, I am a pretty nice guy. But if they don't know me, they're like, this guy's a dick. Oh, he's an asshole. Like
You
it's
are
just-
a dick. And you are an asshole. But you're a funny asshole. You're the furthest asshole
Oh God,
from the moon of the ass. Like, I don't know.
from Uranus.
You know when things become funny?
Yeah.
When there's a point of reference.
Oh, absolutely.
And
That's
when the
what I call
reference was established earlier in the conversation.
it. You know what they call that in hypnosis?
An anchor?
Correct.
Yeah. It's all related.
It's all
It's all connected. It's
Everything's
all connected.
related, and that's a whole nother topic we can get into.
So with that, we will end. I don't know what to tell you. We're having conversation, two dudes talking.
we're having fun.
We're having
This is
fun. It's philosophical. There is a general idea where I want these conversations to go, and I think we covered a handful. We talked about conversations and when we can be how we know when we're having we're talking to an effective communicator or when we're becoming effective, as well as how to have fun and how I have found the idea of sparking every day-to-day interaction with some form of surprise and make sure to add some fun and spice to it. I don't encourage you to walk out butt naked on just anyone. Make sure that it's your significant other or someone that is in agreement and consenting
in a
consenting
private
adults.
space.
In a private space, ideally, or maybe in a public space that just has that kind of policy. It's up to you. Like there's policy.
Hey,
Do what you do.
do what you do.
So it's just two guys talking. You're having an insight into our conversations.
Into how we frame our thoughts, how we think about life, how we think about different situations, and imagine if you were just here sitting with us, and how you sit with your girlfriends or your guy friends, and you just chat.
Yeah, in an ideal scenario, if you were chatting here, you'd be adding, and we'd be yes-anding the shit out of that. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to check out the other episodes. If you're watching this on iTunes, give us a review, drop us a comment. On YouTube, what was your favorite moment from this podcast? Or what was what you hated the most? What did you not like? I don't care. Talk to me. Drop it in the comments.
Drop in the comments, yes, and if you have any questions, let us know.
Yes, we would love to get your questions.
Topics to talk about or get our opinions on certain things. So,
Until next time, thank you very much. This is Teevee,
Chris.
and two men talking about their feelings. Bye-bye.